Roald Dahl once said that those who don't believe in magic will never find it. I agree with him. It has been my experience for the majority of my life that if people do not believe in something, they will give all kinds of excuses to keep from believing. Here I am fixing the sticky doors I had accidentally enchanted last week in the local supermarket. The shopkeeper, Norton, blamed it on the spirits, whatever that means. People had been struggling to get in and out of the store all week, and I'm the reason. "Nasty little pests, ain't they, Blue?" he said as he passed me. I nodded at him with a weak smile and huff away a strand of indigo hair that was in my eyes. "It's because of the dark woods, if you ask me," he continued as he scanned some woman's products. "Mark my words, no one returns sane from that forest." My parents knew better. They knew exactly who made the doors sticky and all the shoemakers' shoes squeaky, the silent bells in the local clock tower as well. That's what I'm supposed to fix next. Before I was done, the newspaper boy came in shoving through the door, surprisingly strong for his frail frame. Norton, the town square, it's a... Oh, hey, Blue!" The boy gave me an instant smile and then addressed Norton again. "It's a darn jungle out there, come and see." Norton rushed out after the boy and I suddenly felt like all my bones turned to jelly. I couldn't help the goosebumps that prickled at my skin and neck as I followed Norton and a dozen other townsfolk into the square. I already guessed what happened. I was only trying to freshen up the roses. Miss Geraldine asked me to, and I'm not the best gardener, so I guess I opted for an alternative approach. I should have seen it coming. The town square really did look like a jungle. Miss Geraldine was wailing at the edge of a tangle of vines. There were no more roses, only thick vines and protruding tree trunks coming out of the gazebo, or what was left of it. I swallowed and looked over at the people's reactions, their shocked faces, except for one. My dad was staring right back at me. His reaction was that of anger and disappointment. He was shaking his head. That day when I got home, my dad gave me a talk. "How many times have I told you if you can't fix it the regular way, leave it?" "But I almost got the hang of it," I whined back. "I still don't understand it much, but I'm getting closer. Might as well use the powers I have to help others, right?" My dad grabbed me by the shoulders and lowered his face to meet mine. "Blue," he started and paused. "Look, people survived without magic from the beginning of time. I understand that you have an extra skill that the rest don't have, and I understand that you like practicing it. But you can practice it away from other people's business." He sat me on the edge of the sofa and sat across me on the armchair. "Magic is dangerous, very dangerous, especially when you don't understand it. And let's face it, you don't." "I'll fix it," I say, fighting the tears. "I'll help them chop the vines and the bell. I still have to fix the bell and—" "No," he interrupted me. "You've done enough. Just stay put now." "Stay put?" I reply in confusion. Like I'm grounded?" "If that's what you would like to call it," my dad replied. He looked tired. He called my twin brothers to him. It was time for their homework. I huffed out and stomped out of the room. I've never been grounded. What do you do when you're grounded? All I wanted to do was help and make myself useful. But now that my school days are officially over, I don't know what to occupy my time with. I'm free until fall when I start university. I don't even know what major I prefer. I go to my desk and sort through the papers. Most are study notes, but there, amongst the piles of chemistry and literature, there's a notebook that contains a story with my name on it. I started writing it before exams when I was procrastinating. I dust it off and pick one of the less scratchy pens. I plop onto the bed and resume writing. I didn't know how much time had passed when a knock interrupted my flow of thought. I perk up and watch my dad's nose peek into my room. "Hey," he said as he let himself in. "Hi," I reply. I knew a reconciliation was incoming, so I let him talk. "Me and your mother talked, and we have come to a decision." I frown and get off the bed. They have come to a decision regarding me? That didn't bode well. With an anxious buzz in my gut, I make my way to my mother's room and enter. She was in bed, looking as pale as ever. She had been in this state for as long as I can remember. Hollow cheeks, drooping eyes surrounded by black circles and bony limbs. She smiled at me weakly and reached with her hand towards me. I came to sit beside her on a chair. Dad closed the door behind me and came to her side. "So, what's the big decision?" I asked. It was best to hear it sooner than later. I didn't like delays, they made me anxious. My mom's smile faltered a bit, and then she glanced at my dad. He sat at the edge of the bed in support. "We have always encouraged honesty in this house," she started. "But I'm afraid we have had one secret that we kept from you, Blue." I perk up in attention, but say nothing. "When we first moved to this town with your dad, we were very young and we craved adventure. So we went exploring the town and the areas around it." She gave Blue a pointed look before adding, "That included the field and the dark forest beyond it." "Oh," Blue breathed out. "We didn't venture deep into it because the townsfolk warned us of the dangers, but we didn't care much for their warnings. At the edge of the forest grew a bush of the juiciest blueberries we had ever seen. We didn't pick any then, but then a few months before you were born, I had a craving, like most pregnant women do." She paused. "I asked your dad for blueberries. I brought her 3 different brands of blueberries from the market, but they weren't good enough. She wanted the ones at the edge of the forest," said my dad. "They were the most delicious blueberries I had ever tasted," my mom resumed. "But as I learned later, they were not ordinary berries. They were magic fruit, and normal people can't digest them very well. At least not usually." My mother sighed, and my dad squeezed her hand with a warm but sad smile. "Your body adjusted to it well. Your hair was naturally blue when you were born." She gestured to my hair. "And you had powers. It was subtle at first, but then it showed more and more. Me, on the other hand..." My dad hugged Mom, and I already knew what was coming. I knew why she was sick. It was all my fault. "No," I mumbled. "You can't say that." My mom tilted her head, consoling me silently, and took my hand in hers. "It is not your fault, sweetie. Never think that. It was my choice and mine alone." She was holding my dad's hand as well. He was looking away as she said those words. He must have blamed himself all these years. My mom suddenly sat straighter and continued the story. "Your dad then brought all the doctors he could find. They couldn't pinpoint the problem, and I am still without a diagnosis. So, when there was no other option, he sought out the Witch of the Woods." At this I frowned. I thought the Witch of the Woods was just a way to scare little children from going into the dark forest. A boogeyman of sorts. Supposedly, she lived in a cabin in the woods surrounded by glowing flowers and fruit. She was so powerful that even the Fae feared her. "Your dad found the old woman," said my mom. "She wasn't as old back then. And she said that I can be cured only by the person who stole my immunity." I frowned and hesitantly pointed at myself. Me? Yes, you. She said that when you are of age, you should be sent to her to learn the craft of magic and receive guidance. And only then, when you master your gift, can you help me. She offers you an apprenticeship, and we think you should go. I froze in shock. This was too much to digest in just a few minutes. You want me to be the apprentice of the Witch of the Woods? I blurt out. In the dark forest? Panic seeped into the last few words. Yes, my parents replied. You will pack up and leave tomorrow. You will spend your summer with the witch until it is time to leave for university.